So, all right, great. So again, welcome everybody. I'm going to walk you through, a short presentation. Well, it's just information sharing today, but I am leaving room at the end for any questions that you have, open questions that you have about the Institute. It's anything you want to know, feel free to ask if I don't hit it in the presentation. But also during it, if you think of something you want to say, if you want to unmute yourself and just ask a question, that's fine. Or if you want to put it in the chat, my colleague Cheryl Walker is here with us, and Cheryl is the manager of the project. And I'm sure she will be, if she would just monitor the chat for me to see if there's anything coming through that we need to address in the moment, that'd be great too. So again, thanks for coming, welcome. Let me just walk you through a few things. So the Institute, a few words to say about it. The goal is to help each of us to develop what we call our liberatory consciousness. And we think liberatory consciousness in this sense is a tool that we're using for social change. And some of the definitions are, longer, but a short one that we use just for this purpose is the reimagining of one's assumptions and beliefs about self and others, and interrupting internal beliefs that undermine productive relationships and action. Sure wish this thing would work for me. So we used assumptions in that definition. So I want to give you a few of the assumptions that underlie how we develop this institute, what are the beliefs that we carry. It's a matter of being transparent and giving you a frame for seeing how we, the faculty, we, the designers, think about people and think about the conditions of our lives, because it goes into how we lead this. So first of all, we believe in the inherent goodness of human beings. We believe that we are smart and good and powerful and intelligent, period. And that's a permanent state of our being, period. I'll say more about it later, but I just want you to know that is a basic assumption that we have. We also believe that the effects of living in societies that have been characterized by white supremacy and pervasive anti-Blackness has caused great harm to us. In addition to the structural and systemic aspects of racism and white supremacy, there is another dimension, and that is dimension of internalized oppression, internalized racism, internalized white supremacy. And the damaging effects of that can be found in all aspects of our lives. Maybe I'll say more as we go, but I just want to lay those terms out in front of you at first. In a society where racial prejudice thrives in politics, communities, institutions, popular culture, it becomes difficult, actually impossible, for people of color to avoid absorbing the racist messages with which we are constantly bombarded. All of us lived in the same society that carries a certain set of ideology about who we are, about our beauty, about our intelligence, about our goodness, about our value, and though we have had many ways of trying to resist that and deny that, or to fight against that, or to not buy into that, some of it undoubtedly did get in, and you see it in the way that we think. The first dimension of internalized racism is how we think about ourselves, and this next dimension is how we think about other people in our race. We believe in the inherent goodness of our people. We believe that racial oppression has done great harm to our lives and our communities. We believe that we are not our circumstances. We are not victims. So let me say that again. We don't ever believe in being defined by the circumstances of our lives. We are not bad people. We are not, like, let me go back a little bit. It's the simplest way for me to say it, that hopefully you'll understand, is to say we've decided to, like, cut out certain words from our lives. Like, we don't ever use the word slave, for instance, to describe people. We do not believe that our ancestors were slaves, because that's an identity. And what we know is that their circumstances is that they were enslaved. The system of racial oppression that defined their lives was enslavement. Their identities was not slaves. Their identity was mom and dad and doctor and friend and child and good human being and not slave. So if we could reorient our minds to never agree to identify ourselves and each other by our circumstances, by being as the victim of the things that we endured, that we've been victimized by, then we get to like have a different way of thinking about ourselves and about each other. And we're never to blame for any of the things that happen to us. Let's be really clear. Horrible things happen to us, and some of that we internalized, and some of it we acted out on ourselves and each other. So the healing journey does not include blame or shame or guilt. And then the next thing I'd say is the most important part of why this institute exists is because we fundamentally believe that we can heal from, and that means repair the damage done to, live in a different way, live outside of the effects of the oppression, given the right opportunity and chance. So about the Institute, this Institute was designed for the Deaconess Foundation's footprint. So this is the Deaconess Foundation was granted support, resource, money to be able to develop this program. Thank you, Bethany and the board. And so we decided that this program will be restricted to people who live within the footprint of Deaconess's operating funding principles. So that is St. Louis City, St. Louis County, and Southwestern Illinois, because the Deaconess does, that I think it's 5 counties in Illinois is where they fund and operate. So we want to support the development of people who are living in the Deaconess footprint. We decided that people need to be at least 25 years of age by the time the Institute begins in September. We did a lot of thinking about that, and this is probably at some point a strategy for thinking about doing a parallel one for young people, or by the design of this one, we wanted to set this for a project for young people. But we believe in multi-generational ness. So, there's no upper age limit. For instance, we are just about to complete the end of cohort 1, where this information session is about cohort 2. And the team, the participants range from, I think the youngest person is about 26, and the oldest person is in their early 80s. And it's been rich to have that kind of generational diversity, among other forms of diversity as well. And then there's some really important that people can commit to attending the entire Institute. We'll give you in the application all of the dates for the immersion sessions will be published, so that you need to be able to make sure that you can clear your calendar or be available or get the time off work. And if you need something from Deaconess, like a letter of support or something for your supervisor or your employer to say why this is important and how it's professional development, or what we can do to encourage people organizationally to be supported, we're happy to provide that. But attendance is really important. So the most important stuff besides the logistics, so we want people to apply if you're seeking to heal from the damages caused by racism and white supremacy. And if you're willing to face, feel, and do the interpersonal work required to heal. And if you're a person who can show respect and support for the other people on the journey, that'll really make for a really good experience for everybody. Let me say a couple of things about what the Institute isn't. So the Institute is focused on healing and liberation from that point of healing, about developing that lens of liberatory consciousness. The focus of each session is on individuals, is on ourselves, our own journey, in community, but individual. So there are many organizations and programs in our community that are occupy the space of activism, and they do great work, and we support them totally. And we're not trying to encroach on anything that anybody else is doing. In fact, we want to have a symbiotic relationship between the two. Like some of the people are in both. Some of this cohort one are actually in more than one thing. I suspect that there are people having completed this one soon will find, now I really want to do more activist work because I have a different perspective. But if we say, that this is the I lane, not the we lane, this is the I lane, really everything we do is tailored to giving people a chance to explore their own lives, their own history, their own challenges, their own victories. And it is how we built this institute. The details. So there are 3 5-day in-person sessions, and they're from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. or 4 p.m. with an extra hour of social time for people. But it's Monday through Friday, 9 to 4, hang out till 5. All the sessions are held in person in the Deaconess office, the Deaconess Center for Child Wellbeing at 1000 North Vanderventer in the city of St. Louis. The three in-person sessions are September 16th through 20th for the first one, January 27th through 31st for the middle one, and May 19th through 23rd for the final one. And in between those sessions, we have several 2-hour virtual activities that happen. We want to keep people connected. Like we don't want to just end the week in September and then not see each other again until January and not see each other again until May. So we have designed a series of webinars or coaching circles or one-on-one meetings and trainings that they put the people, so people can continue to be connected with material that's like sometimes it's a deeper dive into a topic that we just introduced or preparation for when we're about to introduce or something else that we think is consistent with liberation. It's a really thoughtful curriculum, and we try to maintain that continuity. And it's important for people to be, and those that happen, we scheduled all of those from 2 hours from I think 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. over lunchtime for the virtual sessions. They're all Zoom-based webinars. And the final thing, that there is no cost. No, there's cost. I would say that there's no fee for participating in institute. We are not charging a fee. Of course, there's a cost. The cost is your time. For a lot of people, it becomes a challenge to get 15 days off of work over the course of 10 months and to be able to do that. So the investment that you make as a participant is your time. But Deaconess Foundation covers all of the expenses of the facility and the facilitators and the meals. And if needed, people can request financial support for childcare or elder care or bus fare or Uber fare or other as needed. We don't want money to be a barrier, an obstacle for anyone getting access to this program. So that's part of the design. So if you are interested, the application exists on the Deaconess Org's website. You can link to that and fill it out. Applications need to be submitted by the 24th day of May. So you got about 5 weeks to really think them through and apply. Check your calendar, make sure you're available. And then once we've received the applications, a team of us will review them, and we will notify people if you're being invited to the interview round. So the interviews will be conducted by the week of June the 10th. We'll put dates out there for people to pick from. We want the interview process to be completed by the end of June so that we can, I think that's the wrong date on there too. Cohort will be selected by, I think we said the 2nd of June, that second 8 doesn't belong there. My typo, I'll fix it. So we will complete.
Yeah, the 2nd of July.
2nd of July. So I was typing without my glasses, so my bad. But anyway, the cohort selection is by July 2nd, not July 28th. And here's your team. I am happy to serve as the Institute director. I have a background in coaching and facilitation and DEI work and community work and being a thought leader in this world. But mostly I have a commitment to Black people's wellness and lives and bigness and joy. And this is this is a celebration for me. And I'm really happy. This is an idea that I brought to the Deaconess Foundation, and Bethany and the board joyfully bought into it. So that's just a little bit. And then I have two people who are lead facilitators along with me. So Barbara Love, Professor Emeritus at Social Justice at UMass Amherst. Just one of the people that I've worked with for the last 35 years. She is one of the most incredible thought leaders around Black people, Black lives, Black liberation that I've ever known. So I'm really glad that Barbara is honoring us by being a part of the faculty, as well as Cliff Jones, who is, as they say, where he lives in Portland, Oregon, an institution. So with decades of this work under his belt as well, and all both, total visionaries and incredible facilitators, I'm totally psyched about the lead facilitation team. We are also being supported by other facilitators that we're bringing in, we want to develop more people to lead this. We want more folks to be able to do this. So we had one person who was an apprentice with us last year. I think we'll have 2 or 3 in the next cohort. And part of the vision is it's just building more muscle, more training, more skills, more depth for people to be able to lead this and to take it to scale, whatever that looks like over the next period of time. In addition to that, I want to make sure I introduce Cheryl. I'm Cheryl Walker, attorney by training, organizer extraordinaire, and Cheryl has the big job of making sure that we stay on track, that she manages the team, she manages the stuff and things. Cheryl has been an incredible gift to this. I say that Barbara, Cliff, and I are really, really good with content and program and delivery and design. But we needed someone who could manage us, who could keep us, on task and on time. And Cheryl has met and exceeded that request. In addition to them, as I mentioned that we have sort of apprentice faculty. I don't have one of them from last year was Steve Parrish. I hope Steve will return with more people on the bench this year as well. But then we built into the Institute, and I don't have her bio on here, I'm sorry, is we built into the Institute our mental health professional. A lot of the work that's done in this Institute is designed to, and it's not unintentional, designed to bring up feelings. We want to make sure that people had space and support and resource to be able to process those feelings, both during the immersion sessions, Monday through Friday, as well as between them. So we have a really incredible resource in Maxine Birdsong, a licensed MS psychotherapist. Maxine has been, again, someone that I've worked with for decades, and she knows this material really well. So she knows how to anticipate, the reactions to, I might have to feel what it meant like to be hearing, witnessing, thinking about these terms, these identities, this oppression. So it's been a really incredible gift and resource to have this rich team. And again, I'm committed to building the team out as much as possible over the next cohort and beyond. So those are the things that are important to put out. And now I want to just stop sharing my screen and see if you have any. Wow, it's a lot of people came. See if you have any questions, query, reactions, needs that didn't get asked. So there's stuff in the chat. Let me see. Oh, Cheryl. Thank you, Lucille. Great. Anybody have anything you want to ask or share?
I have a question, if I can hop in.
Absolutely.
First, my name is Natalie Sell. Thank you so much for this overview and this program. It's really exciting. I know some folks in the current cohort and they've just gotten so much out of it. To that end, other than being present, participating, do you have a sense of, the folks that have gotten the most out of it and have contributed the most to the cohort? Are there similarities or commonalities in how they've engaged? Like when we think about if we have the space and time, what are some other things that you notice are important to invest in the program?
I love that question. Thank you, Natalie. So since you know people in the cohort, you might have heard something from them about what was useful and what they did, and they're better spokespersons on their own liberation than I could ever be. But what I can say is, I don't think there's anyone in the cohort who is disengaged, and that's really important. Like everybody, there are people with different, there are some of us are more introverted or extroverted than others. There are folks who ask more questions or less. But I think every single person in the cohort has made a connection to it and to each other. And where any of us are on our journey of liberation and, is different. That's of course necessarily so. But I think what I have loved, and it didn't take long, I'll say September for the first cohort session, they came like, what the hell did I sign up for? And where am I? And, I took a leap of faith to show up. When they returned for the January session, it was like, it's a whole new group of people, right? They came loving each other, knowing each other, connected to each other. They had some contact in between with each other in their small groups and probably one-on-one or smaller groups as well. I think that, you could do this kind of content and information and education one-on-one forever, but part of the richness of this learning is being able to do it in community. And I think that's the extent that people have been able to connect with each other and build community and hold each other when you needed to be the one getting the attention. Like, oh, this thing brought up stuff for me. Like they have been generous with themselves and each other. And I think those are the traits I saw most often. And I see a hand. It still says Camille on it, so I don't know who I'm calling on.
It's the hand that has pronouns she, her, and ma'am.
Okay, that must be me. I don't know why my name would be Camille Hogan, but hello, my name is Alicia Deal, and I'm with the Bulletin Mom at TL, and I do see some familiar faces. So I do have a question because I want to know if this because I came in right like after the fact, and so are there opportunities for hybrid or virtual?
So thank you. Yeah, so first of all, the way that the registration link happened is that they got called Camille. So it's not just you. And most people have renamed themselves because it was just the way the Zoom link was set up. So thanks for letting me know your real name. And two, the in-person sessions are in person and in person only. The midpoint sessions, the ones between the immersions. So we have the in-person one for a week, the last week in September, and then October, November, December. Those are all hybrid, as well as the February, March, April. Those are all hybrid. But the ones that are in the classroom, in the meeting room, and the Deaconess Center, those we will not offer. There's no hybrid option for those at all. Has there been determined primary reasons why this has not appealed to more men in our community? And is there a way that I can help? So thanks for that question, Ryan. We have blasted the information as widely as we can in all the networks that we have, all the advertising websites that we know of, and the people who responded to it are the people who responded to it. I imagine that anything that says, well, I don't want to guess at why there have been fewer men who've applied than not, other than sometimes as men, we may shy away from things that say we're going to have to feel deeply, because that's not our conditioning as men. That is not the training that we got. That is not the ways that our lives have been set up. So that in itself, like just that dimension of sexism and the way that men and women got raised and identities formed. Some things are more attractive than others to each of us, but we absolutely want as rich, diverse cohort of people as possible. So the second part of your question is there a way I can help? You can tell the men that you know, or you can let me know who are the men that you want me to talk to, or if there are places that you think, we should do an information session that as a group of guys could hear it. Any of those things we're up for anytime, or me or other members of the team. So thanks for pointing it out.
So I have a question on that, and I apologize for being tardy. I don't want to assume, so let me ask this question. So are we just addressing men who are in leadership that we're comfortable with, or are we open to leadership in men who are not traditional leaders?
No, this is not a leaders institute. So I'm really glad you asked that. We're inviting any Black person, 25 or older, who wants to apply to this institute. We want that. There are people in the current cohort, who are all over the map in terms of their status as leaders or not, just starting out in the workplace, to retirees, to mid-level, to CEO. Like that mixture is important to all of it. So this is not a leadership development program. This is a healing the hurts of racism program. This is a recovery from toxic white supremacy on our lives, minds, and bodies program. It's not about your job. In fact, we don't talk at all about what people do for a living in the Institute, because it's not what this is about. People will share themselves the way they want to, but this is definitely not targeted for any particular class identity.
Rudy, there are a couple of questions in the chat. The first from Terry Plain. Has the first cohort shared the different disciplines or areas in which they work and serve? Wondering if there's a majority in a certain type of area participating.
I think we know everybody's job who has a job. And is there a trend? Certainly there's probably more people who work in nonprofit than for-profit. I believe, if that's, correct me if I'm wrong, Cheryl or Bethany. There's people in higher ed. There's people in healthcare. There's people in service professions. There's people without jobs altogether.
Government.
Yeah.
As well. Yeah. And for-profit, so air quote corporate America,
yeah.
as well, and retirees, at least one retiree in addition. So pretty diverse, and similar to what Rudy said in response to the last question, what you do for a living really isn't the criteria involved at all. Let's see, the second question from Kelly Hicks Holloway. Are the skills gained here personal or for self-improvement, or is this incentive designed to improve engaging relationships within business and workforce development?
So this really is focused on self. This is just absolutely so focused on what are the obstacles and barriers that keep me from being as powerful and effective and joyful and connected to myself and to others as possible. Of course, any healing that I do, or that you do, or that anyone does, of course it will necessarily impact all areas of your life. You'll be I mean, I've seen so far people whose parenting skills have adapted to the information that they've gotten from this. I've seen people who've thought, oh, the way I lead my team is inside of my hurts, is inside of my ideology, my internalized racism. I've seen, people think about their health, like, oh, I think I'm trashing myself, blah, 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 because of this stuff. So all areas of our lives, wherever we are, I bet are impacted by it. But this is not, I mean, I've done lots of courses on management. This is not a course on management. This is not like, here's the best techniques and team development or leadership. It's not that. It really is individual recovery and individual healing. And then when healed people tend to do things differently in the world.
One thing that I would add to it, just in case, part of the motivation for the question was selling it to your employer for time off professional development. We have included on the Q&A portion of the website some information that we've added because we do think there's a connection to healing thyself that makes you more effective in other parts of the universe, including in the workplace. And we've identified some information there that is, hopefully will be helpful. And I see, Rudy, that Alicia Deal hand is raised.
So it's me. Okay, yeah. So I got two questions. All of those things that you guys mentioned was great. I'm not exactly sure how many people could be invited to the cohort, but let's say, for argument's sake, let's say you get a lot of people that exceeded the number of individuals that you allow into the cohort. Well, there has been any thoughts of perhaps maybe doing some sort of capacity building workshop for those who may not necessarily maybe not have the commitment to do a cohort, or not able to do a cohort, or just not being able to be chosen because there are only a slotted number of individuals. And what are the time commitment for those who are in the cohort?
Yeah, great. So I love your challenge to us. So the cohort is 9 to 5, Monday through Friday, the last weeks of September, January, and May. And we do not have anything in the works about anything else other than the Institute. So the idea of having smaller sessions or other things is a great one. I like it a whole lot. We're not at the capacity to offer that just yet. But one of the things that Cheryl and Bethany and the team and I have talked about a lot is, what are we going to do with the cohort that's finishing up right now? How will we engage them going further? Are there opportunities for them to show up and lead and do more things? And that's possibly one of the ways that can happen, is to, we've been working with these people for a year. We don't want this to be a one and done thing. We want to have something that keeps people engaged in this project and this work ongoing. So potentially, Alicia, that could be something that happens, like we develop, a seminar or a webinar or a once a week or once a month day for people who who either can't manage the time off work or who aren't picked for the cohort. The cohort size is 25. That's our capacity. Hopefully we'll get a lot more applicants and we'll have to make some decisions. So our process is, the applications will be reviewed by a team. We will, as a team, decide how many of those people to invite in for interviews. And then as a team, select the cohort that we think is the best mix and fit for each other, because having, cross-section of men and women and queer and young and old and people in different phases of their career, et cetera, is really helpful. We learn a lot from each other, and the more diverse we are, the richer it will be. So we will pick for that cohort. We will say, all right, you're in. Do you accept the invitation? And and that's it. So, but I like,
Can I jump in right there?
yeah.
Hey, greetings to everybody. I wanted to share a context on that. In St. Louis and perhaps even beyond St. Louis, there are places and spaces that do exist that provide perhaps 8-hour, half day, gatherings with which to converse over books and or coffee. Those happen a little bit here and there, maybe infrequent, but they do exist. The Institute really is it's envisioned to be something that is way more substantial by design, right? To have something that is dedicated and affixed, that does require significant time, yes, but it puts a stake in the ground for something larger, and perhaps hopefully more profound, building on those existing efforts that, yes, they do accommodate time, but perhaps they really don't accommodate for the level of curated time we deserve to get in deep, to get in strong, and to get in long over a long amount of time. So, I tip of the cap to those that do that work to the extent that it is available, but this really is meant to be something that is substantial because we deserve it. So I just wanted to add that to the discussion.
Thanks, Bethany. Kelly, is your hand up? I think.
Yes, good afternoon, everyone. I was in the chat and it was just getting a little bit hard for me to type out all my thoughts. So, I was actually referred by a woman who was a part of a school system that my children went to. And I think that the idea is very interesting, the healing aspect. I think I wonder what is the intention behind it, though. I know the word healing is being used and there's the week-long process, but can we go a little bit further into what that entails?
So yeah, sure. Healing is the goal. So that's why we say it over and over again. That is the intent. In order for us to heal, we have to actually understand what harm has been done to us. We have to understand how it got installed, how it got systematized, how race and racism got built and created. What are the historical antecedents of anti-Blackness? What are the systems in place that continue to do harm to us? What are the identity, what parts of our, and, looking at all the systemic and institutional and historical things that we can, because, the first several days are that lots of educational work. Like, this is what we want to teach about. And these are theories and history lessons and a worldview of race and particularly, the looking at where anti-Blackness came from, why it was created, what it was done for, the effects of it, the colonization of people. All those things are really the education in this is quite intense and intentional. And then to learn all that, to interact with that, to hang out with that material, and then to recognize the installation of those things onto us is where we are. So we believe, in doing this work, that maybe the civil rights movement that is our predecessor movement, whose mission and focus was to correct the de jure practices of racism, was to interrupt and clean up the laws and legal systems and policies in that way that racism installed. And yet to look around and say, but it's still doing harm to us. So what has happened that these things continue to persist? What are the de facto behaviors and policies that we continue to persist in? And some of it is actually, of course, the systemic racism that we deal with every day in schools and workplaces and law enforcement and et cetera, et cetera. And then some of it is the way that that enough of us have sufficiently internalized the ideology and the belief of anti-Blackness and white supremacy that we have been able to, that we've harmed ourselves and each other. And we want to be able to free our minds completely and disavow ourselves completely of the things that got laid onto us through hundreds of years of anti-Blackness that exist in our minds and our bodies and our communities. So it's you can't do the healing unless you recognize the hurt and what the hurt is that we endured.
Are we finding that a lot of Black people or people of color are not aware of where their hurt lies when dealing with racism and systemic racism?
It's both. I mean, there's some places that oh yeah, I can identify it readily. I can identify the things that happened in my family, in my community, in my age group, in my, socioeconomics. Some of it, I can identify easily. Some of it is like, oh, I hadn't thought about that. Of course, there's both and. The thing though is even being aware of it doesn't always mean I know what to do here. Like, it's not, okay, I got the information. What do I have to face and feel? And what do I have to do to heal the way that these things has affected me? And that's what the value of the Institute is. It is about the education, the training, the awareness building, but having that is not sufficient. It's necessary, but it's not sufficient. And we're trying to say having the knowledge paired with the tools for recovery is what the Institute's about.
Thank you.
We have a question in the chat in terms of whether childcare would be available. And one of the things that was shared that there are funding opportunities to support childcare, elder care, some other person that you may be primarily responsible for. So there's not childcare on site planned at this point, but there is money set aside to help with childcare. Let's see. Trying to make sure there's anything else. I think there was a question, but I believe it's been answered. It's by one of the Camille's. Will we be heading from African American internalized racism? And so I think that's been answered since you've asked that question.
But if it's not answered, please let us know more that you want to know. Great. One message. It says, as far as diversity, where are participants at in their careers and lives? Again, it's there is no requirement to be at any place in your career or life. You don't have to have a career. You could be, just starting out in your profession. You can be top of your game, whatever your game is, whatever your industry is. You can be done working forever and retired. That's not a part of the requirement for it. That said, in this current cohort, there are people all over the place in it. There are, I don't know, half dozen CEOs and a half dozen or a couple of retirees and a couple of people who are just starting out in their jobs, and a couple of folks who don't have jobs at all. And the mixture mixture matters. It's really cool.
Yeah, I would say in the planning side of it, there was intentionality around having a mix of identities of people, age, where they are in their careers, types of careers, et cetera. And based upon the experience thus far, I don't see any plans to change that dynamic. And we were also intentional about wanting people who were at different points along the continuum, if you will, of where they may be in their self-discovery process on these topics and where they may be on their healing journey along this realm. And being on this side of it, it was a dream of Rudy's and the other planning team members that he convened, but it's been a joy watching it unfold. And I would say that having that mixture, I think, has ultimately made it a more rich process for everyone involved.
Great. Someone asked a question about our therapists involved. There's a therapist on site for the entire institute, plus they make time available for people who want time between the sessions. So that's part of it. Let's see. Homework, not a lot. I mean, we provide people with reflect on this, think about that, but we do the work in the institute, and we provide resources for people who want to do more, and hopefully people have made time to just connect with each other between the sessions, and that's really helpful. And we're building a sort of a resource list for people to, this is embedded in Deaconess, so there's many things that are important to know, but one of Deaconess's love languages is books. So we make sure that we have a really, really rich library of resources that we direct people to. One of Deaconess's love languages is books. Are you anticipating this will be offered in the future if the schedule doesn't work? I can think this far, I can think for this second cohort. So I know that we have the team, the time, the funding allocated for cohort 2. I can't commit anything beyond this. I can hope and vision and expect and desire, but to be honest, yeah, I anticipate it, but I don't know how that will be just yet.
It looks like Katina Johnson has a hand raised.
Great.
Yes, thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. My apologies. I joined a little late and I was able to hear a little bit about what you all are looking for with the cohorts. Could you elaborate on that just a little bit? I missed that part.
What particular question do you have, Katina?
Are you looking for organizations to send in their staff to participate in this, or is it just for individuals from the organization?
Yeah, this is definitely not an organizational project. This is an individual's project.
Okay.
Yeah, so people, most of us, not all of us, but most of us work for somebody, or have most of the people in the cohort have an organizational affiliate, and we limit the number of people in any particular organization for obvious reasons. We want people to have space to be able to do their work, and
Right.
not without having reporting dynamics and all that kind of stuff. So that is a consideration, but it's about individuals, not like we're not sending this notice to businesses saying appoint your most valuable or invite your most valuable or key Black leaders. That's not what this is about.
Okay.
There are organizations in town that do that, and they have a role. That's not what this one is.
Gotcha. Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome. No one in the institute, well, skin color is definitely a dimension of our hurt, is a part of the ways that many of us have been hurt around the benignness of skin color that has been turned into an issue, a barrier, a problem, a pain spot, da 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 da. So to the question, do we have people that don't appear anthropologically to be Black? No, not at the moment. There's no one who I'd say apply to the Institute who, what's the word we used to use, passing, that's not anyone in our current group. Yeah, so that's the answer.
I want to elaborate on that question. The reason why I asked that question because there has been some programming, so to speak, that were censored for individuals that identified as Black, right? And there has been some newsworthy information of people who were perceived to be Black that were not Black, and because this is an institute that focuses on the anti-Blackness, the racism, things of that sort. And I'm just wondering, like, if let's say, for example, hypothetically speaking, if someone that appear to be Black or identify Black, and then they were like, okay, then somehow, some way, you guys find out this individual not Black. Do you like, okay, even though this is a focus for Black folk, but we'll let you stay on since you have already adapted it, or that person has to be removed, because things like that do happen. And I just wonder, like, what are you guys' method on that if that does happen?
Well, no one has been invited to the Institute that isn't Black. So we haven't had to disinvite anybody, if that's the first question. And I think we have enough filters and screens in our interview process to make sure that we don't invite someone for whom that's not their identity.
We have about 6 minutes left, and I see that Kelly Hicks Holloway has a hand raised.
I think that you guys answered part of this, the beginning of my question. Someone did ask about the initial size of this particular cohort. Like, what do we have a specific number? I know that Rudy, you were stating that you guys will be going through the like an interview process,
Right.
and choosing who will go. So I think the first part is how many people will be chosen, but then also, if someone isn't chosen, will they be possibly elected for the next cohort? And what are you hoping that we gain from what is the end resolve?
Well, okay, that's a lot of questions. So let me see.
I'm sorry.
No, I'm smart. I can keep up with you. Let me just say so I might have to ask you to repeat something, but I'll see what I can
Okay.
remember. So 25 is the magic number that we aim for, that we want to invite into the cohort. So I'll tell you, cohort 1, we picked 25 people. We sent them their yes, congratulations, you've been accepted. Please confirm that you will join letter. And one person said after all that they can't do it. They can't get the time off work. So the cohort was started at 24. And then on the first day of the first session, someone had a major family crisis and they pulled out. So the cohort 1 started at 25, but actually ended up being 23. So that's fine. Life happens. For people, like I said, there were people that we didn't invite into the cohort. One because of space, 2 because of conflicts of employment necessarily. So there are 3 people who have been guaranteed seats in cohort 2, who interviewed, we liked, who were able, but we just didn't have space for them in cohort 1 or whatever. So there are 3 seats that we told them last year, you don't have to re-interview, you've got a spot for you. So we need to confirm that they're still interested and are still want to be there, but there are, we already have 3 set aside seats. Additionally, we always invite and make a priority of Black people who are either Deaconess Foundation board of directors or staff. That's important because this is, big deal to have the organization that's the sponsoring organization get the resource of it as well. So there's a couple of spots that could potentially be Deaconess designated attendees. That's that. And then Let me see, what else did you say that I recalled? And the intention, that was the last part. What do I intend for you to get out of it? It's really, what do you intend to get out of it? In fact, that is, if you apply, that is one of the essay questions that's on the application. Like, you have to personal stake in the ground of how you will be changed, what you want to interact with, what is it how will this impact your life? We all have a vision that getting a chance to work it's deep, intense work with a cohort of other brilliant, powerful, smart Black people, good Black people, will change us all, and it will awaken us to possibilities, and it'll affect how we lead, parent, think, whatever in our lives. And I think that what I expect is everyone will be in some degree, changed and more powerful in their way of being in the world. What that looks like for you or me or individuals is an individual change, individual development. So we do ask people both in the essay and in the interview questions to articulate that somewhat. Like, what do you want to get out of this? How could this impact your life? How will you be different? Like, that's yours to answer. I won't answer it for you.
Thank you so much for that.
My delight. Did I get all of them though?
You got everything. You did it
All
all.
right.
Thank you.
All right. All right. Well, we're just at the top of the hour. So anybody burning? Great. Thank you all so much for coming to this. I hope that you got all your questions answered and can make a decision now about whether or not it makes sense for you to apply. I look forward to reading applications, which is the next step. So I'm just gonna sit around and wait, unless, of course, you have something that you want to reach out to me. Please feel free to contact me, rudyN@deaconess.org. I'm happy to check back and answer questions anytime. And if you have people that you want who didn't make it to this session that you think should, who you think, oh, this would be good for them, and you want to set up a conversation for them about this, I'm very happy to do that. I want as many, I don't want anyone to miss out on the chance to do this who wants it for themselves. And I think that's what I got today. My gratitude for you taking the hour to come and hang out and learn about it. And we'll hopefully see you soon. Terry, is your hand up for a comment? Oh, that was a wave, just a bye.
Yeah. Thank you.
Oh, okay. All right, great. Be well, all.